for mass or very large protests.
Even in Japan.
Even in Japan, yeah. There were a lot of foreign residents in Japan who went to the protest. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
We are waiting for Mark.
Yeah.
Mark has trouble, in printer.
With the printer. So, was there anything that you found surprising in the last class? Was there something that you weren't aware of or that you thought was a little shocking? So, something I'd like to point out about that is what we're teaching you is a pretty comprehensive history lesson, and it's one that even American students aren't really learning about right now. So the way that American history is taught in America is maybe a little bit different than what we're teaching. Okay, he's here. I'm just gonna stop talking.
Okay. Sorry, some issues with the printer. Okay, so soon I will have a key points paper for you with some definitions and the comprehension questions. But first I want to talk about our introduction. So, we have all seen on the news about the protests, right? In America, in Tokyo. So this is happening all around the world. But why? Why does this happen? So, this is a quote by Kimberly Jones. She is a writer, and she is also a part of the Black Lives Matter movement. And so when asked, why do you burn down the community? Why do you burn down the buildings where you live, right? And her response is, it's not ours. We don't own anything. Just like we talked about last lesson, for all of American history, whenever black people became wealthy or successful, there was always a problem. There was always somebody who came through and destroyed the community or made the situation worse. So they don't own anything. They said that we have a social agreement, that we all have an agreement, that if I steal or you steal, then somebody comes, an authority, a policeman, will come, and they will fix the situation. However, the person who is supposed to fix the situation is killing them, right? So, the social agreement is broken. And if the social agreement is broken, why should she care if a Target or a store gets burned when they are out there killing people, right? So we'll learn more about the situation in this PowerPoint. So the first main topic in your comprehension questions is going to be about racism in the criminal justice system. Nishiyama sensei, could you explain the word criminal justice?
だから結局クリミナルってのは知ってますよね、皆さん。クリミナルってのは、犯罪者とかの結局犯罪者にとっても、一応権利があるわけじゃない彼らは。その話です。だから黒人白人の問題で犯罪を犯した人にとっても、影響が差別が及んでいるわけです。今日はアメリカの警察制度について少しお話しするんですが、本当にショッキングだと思いますので、楽しんでというか、内容、いろんなことを吸収してくれたらと思います。
Okay. So, first I want to talk about some quick facts about the situation. There have been many studies in the United States about how black people and white people are treated differently by the police. So, for example, black people are 3 times more likely to have a police officer approach them, to come to them, and ask them, what are they doing? What are they doing? black people are 3 times more likely than white people to be shot by a police officer, to be shot and killed by a police officer. And black men, all of them, have a 1 in 1,000 chance of being killed by a police officer. That means almost everybody in America might know somebody who is in danger of being killed by a police officer. An important part of this situation is in America, they have a situation called the war on drugs. So in America, some of our presidents decided that it was very important to treat drugs very seriously. But this has had some effects on the situation in America. So for example, white and black people use drugs at the same rate in America. So a white person and a black person use drugs similarly in America. However, black people are 4 times more likely to be arrested for having drugs. That's because police officers check them so much more often, even though there is the same chance that a white person might have these drugs. There is an idea called minimum sentencing. Nishiyama sensei, could you explain the word sentencing?
センテンシングってのは判決を下すってことですね。はい。
Okay. So, minimum sentencing laws mean that for a crime, like maybe stealing something, or in this case, having a small amount of a drug, means that they will be very harsh, they will be very strict, and give you a long time in prison for this small amount of this drug. This is meant to stop people from doing drugs, but it has many other effects. So part of the situation is black people are 6 times more likely to be sent to prison than white people. So in this chart, we have the amount of people who go to prison compared to how many of those people are living in America. So it's percentage, right? So for every 308 white people that go to jail, proportionally, so the amount compared to the black population is 6 times that at 2,000. So one of the main consequences is black people are 13% of the US population, but they are 40% of the people in jail. So that's a huge difference, right? How can 13% of a group of people be almost half of the people in prison? Something is not right. So, some of the reasons why that is white people who have committed a crime. A defendant is somebody who the state, somebody who the government thinks has done something wrong. So that is a defendant. When the government thinks that you have done something wrong and are investigating, right? So white defendants are 25% more likely than black defendants to have their most serious charge removed from their criminal investigation. So can you explain charge for me, Nishiyama Sensei?
Excuse me? I was
Oh,
saying-
sorry.
I wasn't paying attention.
Charge.
だから判決とかを下されるわけですよね。そこに書いてあるけども、白人の被告人に比べて黒人の被告人の方が同じ犯罪であってもなんていうの厳しく裁かれるようになっている。それが今のアメリカのその判断裁判制度そういうふうになっています。はい。
And then also, white people are 75% more likely to have small crimes that could have them go to prison, that they could go to prison for, they're 75% more likely to have those charges removed so they don't have to go to prison, okay? And also, studies show that black people receive 20% longer punishments. 20% longer punishments. So, black people are going to jail more often, they're being stopped by police more often, and they get harder punishments. They get stronger punishments than white people. So, part of the problem of this situation is that in America, it is okay to make prisoners, people in jail, work. Companies that use labor or use work from prisoners get about $2 billion from prisoners every year. However, they pay prisoners $1 an hour, so about 100 yen an hour. So this is modern day slavery, right? You arrest people, many people, and you have them work for you for almost no money. Some of the companies who use this work are Starbucks, are Walmart. Even Nintendo has distributed or sent products to different places using prison labor. So many of the companies that we know use this labor. Okay, so we're going to pause for a second. You have 2 comprehension questions. Please take a moment to answer those comprehension questions. And you can talk to a partner. That's okay.
じゃあ最初のスライドであったけども、ごめんなさいね、ストップってあったけど、職務質問とかも黒人の人の方が非常にされるってことが言われてますよね。とにかく警察制度が黒人に対してすごく差別をしているわけですね。
Okay, so let's go ahead and bring it back. So, the first question is, black people in America are 3 times more likely to have what happen to them? To have what happen to them? Who's got an answer?
今言ったやつですね。
Please.
They are killed by police officers.
Right, so they're 3 times more likely to be killed by a police officer. Also, they are 3 times more likely to be approached by a police officer. to have a police officer come and ask them, what are you doing? The next question. Black people are 13% of the American population. What percentage of the prisoners are they? Who's got an answer? What you got? What you got? 40%, right? So almost half. Almost half. All right, so now we'll move on to the next section. Police violence in America. So, it may be surprising, but these people are police officers, right? Do you think they look like police officers? Maybe not, maybe not. So, do you know the event 9/11? 9/11. So maybe, maybe not, but in 2001, on September 11th, terrorists flew airplanes into American buildings and killed many people. It's a very important event in American history. So after that event, after all those people died, our government passed laws that allows the American military, the Army, to give equipment, to give guns, to give vehicles, cars, that are meant for the military to the police. So now they look like this. So, police now have rifles, they have armored vehicles, helicopters, body armor, so things that a soldier should have. Studies show that when you dress police officers like this, they think that they're out to fight people. They think it's their job to fight people, and they become more aggressive and more violent when they're dressed like this. Also, in the last 20 or so years, there's been a policy that police can receive permission to enter someone's home without knocking violently. So they can break in your door without saying they're police, without knocking. Could cause some problems, and we'll talk about that. So, we have some individual examples of awful things that have happened because of the situation. So this young man is Tamir Rice. When he was 12 years old, police came to his neighborhood because a car was parked in the wrong place. So not a serious situation. However, Tamir was playing with a toy gun. The police thought it was a real gun and shot him. He was 12 years old. Those police officers are still police officers. They never went to jail. They never lost their job. They are still working. And they killed this child. Another situation. So this is Eric Gardner. This is another famous example of police violence. So the situation was, again, not very serious. He was selling cigarettes on the street. A very small crime in America. When they arrested him, they put him in a chokehold, which is when you put your arm in front of somebody's neck and cut off their breathing, so he couldn't breathe. He told them 11 times that he could not breathe, but they would not listen to him. And then he fell unconscious and died. The police officers are still police officers. They still have their job. They were never sent to jail. So there's a problem here. And the problem is that it's very difficult to hold police accountable. Nishiyama sensei, could you explain the word accountable?
Sorry. I wasn't paying
Oh,
attention.
that's okay. Accountable,
あは
do you know the word?
だから結局責任責務っていうかその部分ですよね。で結局今の2個の事件があったけど、まあ一例でしかないけども、ただおもちゃのね鉄砲で遊んでただけで殺されちゃったりとか、タバコを売ってるだけで首絞められてとか圧迫されて、結局ね11回も呼吸ができなくて、まあ、死んじゃったみたいな、亡くなってしまったっていうそういうこととかで、それに対して警察官は逮捕されてないわけですよね。一切刑を受けてないっていう、まあそんな話です。はい
So yeah, generally it's just being held responsible. That when you do something wrong, that there is a punishment, or that there is something that happens to you because you did something bad. So it's very hard in America to make police accountable or responsible for the bad things that they sometimes do. And the number one reason are police unions. Police unions. And then one more time, can you explain what a union is?
ユニオンというのは団体っていうのは警察官が集まったような、まあ、組織っていう意味で使われています。
Okay. So it's a group of police officers that work together and they can decide to maybe not go to work or something like that. So it gives them power. So these police unions in America are very strong, very strong. Some of the things they do is sometimes they will say, this month, because you're doing something that we don't like, because of this law that we don't like, this month police officers will slow down at work. They will investigate more slowly. They will find criminals more slowly and make less arrests because they are protesting a certain law or decision. So this is to scare people and think, oh, if the police are working slowly, then we are all in danger. That is the idea that they have. So that is one thing that the police do to have more power. Another thing they have is something called qualified immunity. And that's a complicated phrase, but all it means is that police officers, if they hurt somebody you love and you want to have them punished for it, it is very difficult because while they're doing their job, they're in a special role. And that because of their job, sometimes they can do bad things because it's a difficult job. So this law makes it really hard for everyday people to hold police accountable. So police kill about 1,000 people in America every year. Out of all of American recorded history, only 52 police officers have ever been charged with a crime, have ever been said that you did a crime, right? And out of those 1,000 every year, only 2 ever have been charged with murder. So very few. So what are people doing about it? So you've heard about the organization Black Lives Matter. They were created in 2013 after the murder of a teenager, younger than you are now, Trayvon Martin. So after this teenager was killed, this started as a Twitter hashtag, Black Lives Matter. And after that, it became an organization. So some key things about this organization is that it has no real leaders. There is no one leader of Black Lives Matter, but it's made of many small groups that are led by its members. Black Lives Matter focuses on direct action. So this means protests. They focus on protests that interrupt daily life, that get in the way of people living daily life. This is to force people to see that there is a problem, because it has not been seen as a problem for so many years. So the main goals of this organization is to end police violence, to make police more accountable, or make it easier for police officers to get in trouble when they do bad things. They want to greatly reduce the amount of people in prison. They want to lower how many people are in prison. They want more school funding. And they want something called reparations. So reparations is something that you pay a community or a group when something really awful has been done to them. For example, after World War II, Nazi Germany had to pay reparations to some countries, pay money in apology and to help them rebuild. So in this case, they want reparations for slavery. They want to get money in apology and to help make things more equal because of slavery. Okay, so we're going to take another break. Go ahead and look at your comprehension questions and work with a partner.
You guys are taking great notes. I'm so proud of you. They're taking really great notes. Yeah, they're pages.
So we don't have much time, so we're going to go ahead and go over the answers, okay? So, when police have military equipment, what changes in the way they think? What changes is they become more aggressive and more violent. They have it's us versus everyone else way of thinking, right? So they need to fight other people. Then the next question is, why is it so difficult to punish police officers when they do something bad? The first reason is that police unions are very strong. Police unions are very strong. The next main reason is this idea of qualified immunity, which is maybe too complicated to explain specifically, but generally it means that American people can't personally get a police officer in trouble and get money from them when they do something wrong. But we're going to go ahead and move forward. We don't have a whole lot of time. So what led specifically to these protests? The first big thing is, of course, COVID, that we have all been experiencing COVID. So right now, 15% of all Americans don't have a job because of COVID. 15%. And that has affected Black and Hispanic people more than white people. You can see here on the graph that it's maybe 11 to 12% white people, 18% Black people. It's a little bit more for Black communities, right? So people are unemployed. Number 2. So because of the jobs that Black and Hispanic people work in America, these are service jobs. This is your conveni worker. This is your Belk employee, your Starbucks worker. These jobs are often done by Black and Hispanic people, and other jobs as well, that you have to often speak and work with other people. So you're more likely to become sick, right, when you see people all the time. So one governor in America, I'm going to summarize what he says. So he says that for 2 months in America, people have been sitting at home, right? They're worried about running out of money because they don't have jobs. They're worried about becoming sick. So for 2 months, they sit at home with this in their mind, that, oh, I don't have enough money. What happens if I get kicked out of my home? What if I have no place to live? That kind of thing. And then they see these happen. So the first main event that happened is the case of Ahmaud Arbery. So we won't show you the video. There is a video, and it's quite shocking. It's very scary. But Ahmaud was jogging in a neighborhood for exercise, and then 2 men who used to be police officers, or one of them used to be a police officer, they thought he had committed a crime. They thought that he was a thief, that he was stealing things, for no real reason. And so they grabbed some guns, and they hopped in a car, and they chased him in their car. Then they ended up having a fight because this man was scared. And by the end of it, Ahmaud Arbery was killed. And in the video, you can see the situation. It's very shocking. So this, while people are sitting at home, is the first video they see. And it makes them angry because it's wrong. The next situation is the situation with Amy Cooper. Let me see if this works. Yeah. Is the speaker on?
Yeah.
How do we change that?
No, I
Maybe if I turn on presentation.
yeah, I don't know. Yes.
Okay. So here's the situation. The background is this woman is in a park, and her dog is not allowed to be off its leash. So it has to have a leash on it, like a rope, right? And a Black man told her, "Excuse me, your dog has to be on a leash." And this was her response.
Please don't come close to me. Please don't come close to me. Please call the cops. Please call the cops. Please tell them whatever you like.
Maybe it doesn't work. So let me summarize what she specifically says. So in this situation, she says, I'm going to tell the police that there is an African American man threatening me. So she tells him that. I'm going to call the police if you don't leave me alone, and I'm going to tell them that a Black man is threatening me or is trying to hurt me, right? As we have seen in previous videos and previous situations, when the police become involved, when the police come to a situation like this, there's a good chance that the black man is going to be in trouble and that he is going to be hurt, right? Maybe even killed. And she knows this. She is aware. She knows that if she calls the police, the situation will likely not be good for this man. She knows that because of racism, right? She was trying to endanger this guy, this man, because she didn't like what she was hearing. He did nothing wrong, right? Okay. Goodness. Okay. So we're gonna have to go even a little bit faster. So there is Amy Cooper. So nothing bad happened at the end of this video, but this is just an example of how white people in America know what kind of power they have and know that the situation is not equal for black people. And so this also made people angry when they saw this happen. And the last example of what happened leading to the protests is, I don't think we have time to show the video, but there is another man, George Floyd. Maybe you've seen his name, maybe not. But his death is what mainly caused these protests. So George Floyd was suspected, people thought, that he had paid something with a fake dollar bill, or a fake $20 bill. So they thought he used 20 fake dollars to buy something. Also a small crime. When the police showed up, they sat on his neck with their knee for 8 minutes. Again, he told them, "I can't breathe." He begs them to get off of his neck. The people on the sidelines, like this woman, also beg the police to get off of his neck, but they don't. By the end of this video, George Floyd is dead because of a $20 bill. The police officer who killed George Floyd had 17 different complaints or situations where people said, "This man did something horrible to me." He had 17 of them. The average for his police department, the average for his job, was maybe around 6. So he had been a problem for a long time. So, next, just a quick timeline, is we have May 25th, George Floyd dies. May 26th, there are large protests in the city where he died. And the 4 police officers are fired from their job. They aren't police officers anymore. The next day, huge protests start all over the United States. On May 29th, the officer who killed George Floyd is arrested. So it took 4 days for this man who murdered somebody to be arrested. Maybe longer than it should. So the protests continued because there were 3 other police officers who watched George Floyd die, who were standing next to the situation and let it happen. Okay, and then I want to show you, during the protests, this is what the situation looked like. So these are examples of police officers being violent to protesters, right? It's okay, we'll end on this video.
日本の警察と比べていかにアメリカの警察がすごいかっていうのが分かります。ぜひ見てください。 車に乗ってるのが警察ね。いや催涙ガスをね、警察が。ただ歩いてる人邪魔だからっつってどかしたりね、催涙ガスで。
We got plenty of time here.
Are you okay? Kate? Katie, are you okay?
Get the fuck out! Get the fuck out!
He's not doing anything. He's frozen.
これが警察官だからね。
Okay, so there are many more of that video on the internet. That was just maybe 8 or 9 specific times that this happened. But over the protests, there have been more than 350 videos of this happening. So it's happening all over, and it's happening all the time. Maybe next class, we'll talk and we'll finish this. But yeah.